What's going on? It's Will Spencer. I play Milo, and you're watching Young Entertainment Mag.
First, I just want to start. Let's go back to the beginning. What was your audition experience like for The Summer I Turned Pretty?
It was a lot of self-tapes, did a couple of reads, and then I did a chemistry read with Rain, Spencer, and Sean Kaufman, which was a lot of fun. Yeah, and that was pretty much the end of it.
Very cool. How much did you know about the show beforehand? Had you heard about it? Were you familiar with the book series?
I had definitely heard the name before, but I didn't know, I hadn't seen it, and I didn't really know a whole lot about it until I didn't even know that's what I was auditioning for until pretty much the very end.
Interesting. Did they give you like a code name for the series?
I don't think there was a code name, but they were calling my character MGK for a long time.
Okay. Well, that's
Yeah.
another great question. How much did they tell you about your character before you got cast in the role? Was it kept very minimal to just like the lines that you were going to be reading for your audition? How much did you know before actually getting the role?
I was pretty limited to the one scene, to that car scene with Rain and Sean, and that was pretty much all I got. I got some general stuff about him, but not a whole lot. Not a
Interesting.
whole lot
Well,
to go off of, but it left a lot of room for me to kind of like just fill in some blanks, which is always fun.
interesting. Well, let's go with that because I was going to ask you about the car scene that you were talking about because that one was really fun to watch. But
Mhm.
since we started with like getting to know your character, can you tell us a little bit about your character and how he fits into the series?
Ooh, that's a tough one because I think Milo is very much like the odd man out among everybody. You know, I feel like a lot of the characters have like a very kind of serious undertone to them, which and he doesn't take much seriously at all, which was also kind of fun to, I don't know, just like be in there and kind of like it makes everything so much more funny when everyone else is like really serious. So yeah, I mean, he's like super easygoing and he's just like all smiles. He's like very like positive most of the time. I like that a lot about him. I think he's like a very genuine person.
Yeah, that's really cool. I think that's really gonna resonate with audiences. And how much would you say that you're familiar with Milo? How much was a bit of a stretch for you? What was that like? Would you say that you're close to him in proximity to your personalities, or a little different?
I think he's a lot more energetic than I am for sure. Like I think he's more sociable than me, you know, like he's down to go talk to anybody and I tend to be a little bit more reserved in that. I mean, the fact that he was like doing music was super cool to me. There was some fun music stuff involved in like auditioning, which was like super cool to just get to like, do something else for an audition aside from, doing the scene. And they kind of let me like run with that part of it. So that was like fun to kind of stretch my legs there.
Yeah, well, it's interesting that you brought that up because I think that's also one of the things that people are gonna like about this character is the parts of music that are incorporated into that character. And we were curious how much of that was you versus, like anything else, like their dubbing or anything like that. So it seems like that was part of your audition process too.
Yeah, they had me do like a little like rap piece that I like submitted and that was fun. But I do mostly singing in the bit, which was interesting because that wasn't what I was expecting. They kind of like to me I was like, "Oh, like they really set him up as like at least as far as the audition, I was like, "Oh, they really set him up as like this kind of like rapper guy, and with a lot of edge to him, and he does have edge, but it was cool to kind of see him be more of this just like rocker guy, not that he was trying to be like too current. That was fun.
Yeah, I really like how music's incorporated into the series as a whole. So it's kind of nice to
Mhm.
have a character that the music background adds to his character more, not just so much to the story, but you really get a sense of who he is based on his musical preferences and the performances that are in the show.
Mhm.
So one scene that I really want to talk to you about was that scene that you mentioned in the car with Rain and with Sean. So what was that process like? I guess what was it like during your audition or chemistry first, and then once you were on set, how did that come to life more so when you were actually filming?
Yeah, the audition's really interesting because you're trying to play, they're like in a car and there's like an atmosphere to that and there's like a behavior, associated kind of with like driving and stuff and you're trying to like somehow like make that come across in some way and that's always like a little tricky. So it's always I think it took like a lot of pressure off when you're actually in the car because you kind of have everything in front of you. And so that's like a little extra bit that's taken off of your shoulders as far as trying to play that. Yeah, and I think they let us play a lot, in the when we actually shot it. In the audition usually there's not a whole lot of like wiggle room. Usually you stick pretty close to what's there, but it was nice to kind of and like Rain and Sean are great and Sean's hilarious. And so we just got to kind of like, play around a little bit and just really have a good time. And that was the first thing that I shot too. So
Oh wow, yeah.
that was like such a nice, like fun way to kind of like get to know everybody and get started there.
Yeah, well, we're always curious how actors that are playing characters that are really close friends or have really intense storylines, how they develop that kind of chemistry. But it seems like since that was the first scene that you shot, that was very instrumental in kind of setting the chemistry for the rest of the series and the rest of your character arc. So, do you remember anything from that day specifically filming? You touched on it a little bit, but do you have any specific memories from that? I guess your first day on set, that would be?
Yeah, well, it helped too that, everyone was like very welcoming and nice and I got to kind of speak with Rain a little bit beforehand and she was like so nice and she invited me to like go meet everybody. So I got to like spend a little bit of time with everyone first and just get some of the like I guess formalities out of the way, which was nice. That way like when you're there you already have like some kind of rapport with people, you're not trying to kind of like engage with that at the same time as you're trying to do the scene. So I think that helped a lot. But yeah, I think that kind of set the pace for how they were going to kind of like address each other moving forward.
Very cool. One thing that I also wanted to ask you, we were talking about like the musical aspects of your character and of the show, but a lot of people that we talk to when they're getting into character or when they're about to film, sometimes to kind of immerse themselves in the character, they create maybe a playlist or something for getting into character. So, first
Mm.
off, I wanted to ask if you could create a playlist for, or not even a playlist, but if you could pick one song that you think your character would use to like get hyped up and get into the zone, what do you think that would be?
I think he would listen to like Teenage Dirtbag.
That's a great choice.
I think that's what he feels like.
Yeah,
I think he kind
that's
of he
very
kind of
true.
walks around with that in the back of his head.
Yeah, and it seems like your character also takes songs that are not considered current and kind of puts like a more current spin on them, like takes kind of more classic songs, and that's the song that I think now is kind of considered classic and is having a new life of its own. So I think that kind of fits into your character really well. So that's a great answer.
Thank you. Thank you. Yeah, there's a lot of and I feel like he kind of floats around, there's a bunch of stuff on his playlist for sure. He's got like probably Summer of 69 on there.
Mhm.
But he's also definitely got some like Drake somewhere. Probably got some Eminem on there. Probably some MGK on there too, for sure.
Very nice. Yeah, very well rounded, it sounds like.
Yeah, he's got a wide palette, I would
Yeah.
say.
Awesome. So speaking of getting into character, our readers are very interested in the get ready with me trend. So what's your get ready with me process for becoming Milo?
Oh, this is I guess like a little embarrassing. Do remember in one of the scenes, there's this part where he's wearing this like tank top and he has to like rip it and stuff. I've never kind of been like that like on camera and especially like not in front of that many people. So I didn't have like a specific process per se other than I remember calling my sister who's like she's a certified trainer and I just remember asking her like, dude, what do I have to do to look look good on camera? I was like asking her for advice and I remember this is so vain, but I used one of the chairs in my trailer to like do curls and stuff before shooting that because I was like I was like so worried about how
Well,
I
you got to
was
do
gonna.
what you got to do, right? You got to make the scene. You got to sell it.
Yeah, yeah, because yeah, yeah. I don't know. That's I guess that's not really what you asked, but um,
No, I think that's a great answer, and I think especially once fans see the scene that you're referring to, I think that's really gonna
yeah, or
they're
they're gonna be
they're gonna
like,
love that little tidbit. You give us like a
yeah,
nice look behind the curtain on that one.
yeah, or they're gonna be like, he doesn't look like he did in the girls.
No, it's great. I'm predicting they're gonna love. That's gonna be a season favorite.
I'm gonna hold on to that. Thank you.
Yeah. Oh, so one other thing I wanted to ask you, just we like to ask casual questions about the atmosphere on the set. You talked about what it was like being with the different cast members and getting to know them. But what would you say is your favorite thing to eat at Crafty?
Coffee,
That's always a
definitely,
good choice.
definitely coffee. I drink way too much coffee, and also I find it hard to like eat sometimes when I'm working. I just get like really distracted, and sometimes it's hard to kind of like mentally check out of that to be like, all right, like I'm gonna go, kind of do this other thing. So yeah, coffee.
Very cool. Speaking of your scenes that you have with Rain and with Sean, there's a very interesting kind of like fight scene that you have with Sean in episode 6.
Mm.
So what was it like filming that scene, and what was the atmosphere like on set with filming that scene? I'm sure it was not as intense as it's gonna come across in the actual scene, but how did you guys kind of, was there any kind of choreography when it came to that kind of fight scene? Was it more emotionally driven? What was that experience like?
Yeah, definitely a lot of choreography. I know we had several sessions to kind of like beat that out and make sure everything was kind of like, ready so that nobody gets nobody gets like clocked in the face on the
Mhm.
day. Um, which nobody did, thankfully. But yeah, I mean, it was definitely like the most hectic scene just because, there's a lot of, moving parts. You've got all of, probably like 100 extra people around, and it's, there's a lot going on, and there's a lot of pressure to like make sure that you can like get it and do it so that you don't have to spend any more time than you need. So it was a little stressful, but everyone like really kind of, just kept their heads down, and we got it done, and it was still like super fun. We still had a lot of laughs, and it was all good fun. Definitely not as emotionally intense as it probably looks.
But that's always good. It's nice to hear how like how much comes into those scenes when they seem very they are very emotionally driven, and then to see like there's also a very physical aspect that needs to be worked out beforehand. It's definitely really fascinating to see how that all comes together.
Yeah. Also, Sean is incredibly tall, which I'm sure you'll see. I'm like 6 foot, and I was like, yo. I was like, dude, this is insane. It was like I felt weird trying to like stare him down because I was like, nah, he is like you are towering over me, bro.
That it's good that there's a lot of like choreography that's worked out beforehand, because it seems like that could very easily, when you have someone that seems so much taller than you, it seems like that it's very easily to have a lot of injuries from that standpoint. So I'm glad it all worked out and it all looked very
Yeah,
good
yeah,
on the show. That's
yeah.
another scene that I think is going to become like a fan favorite, or one of the most memorable ones when fans get to see it.
Yeah, I think they'll like it.
Yeah, it's very it's nice to hear the contrast between what the atmosphere was like on set, or what your personal relationship is like with Rain and with Sean, and then to see on screen what it is character wise. So I think
Hmm.
a lot of fans they get a lot out of that.
Yeah, yeah. No, it's always interesting. It's always funny to kind of just be sitting there, and you're just kind of you know talking, and then they're like, all right, and you're like, okay, I hate you now.
Got to turn it on, and all of a sudden we're not ourselves anymore. You got to think about
Yeah,
it a little differently.
yeah. I'm bad like that though. I still tend to crack up every now and again. It's hard. Sometimes it's hard for me to keep a straight face.
Yeah. Well, that goes kind of with what we were talking about before with the get ready with me trend. Like, what is the process like for getting in and out of character so quickly, or going from your mind to Milo's mind and going through that shift? Do you have any acting tips for how you were able to do that and switch back and forth so quickly?
The more that the more time that you spend with a character, like, the easier that becomes. And I think they did a really good job of like writing him in a way where I felt like I had a good like understanding of that. And also just everyone was like, super like collaborative, which makes it really easy to, maybe you have an idea, you pitch out an idea, maybe it lands, maybe it doesn't, maybe Rain has an idea for something or this moment or that, and it just kind of becomes like a team effort, So I
Very
think that
cool.
makes everything super, it makes it easy to step in and just kind of be like, okay.
Well, it's interesting with everything that you mentioned. There's like a physical aspect, an emotional aspect. You said there's a very collaborative aspect. There's musical aspects of your character. It seems like there's a lot to balance when playing this character. So, or even just in this experience, there was a lot that you had to really perfect. So, what's something that you learned being a part of this production that you're going to take with you further in your career?
I think the one thing would be like not to be afraid to really, I don't know, to just really take some of the aspects like farther, because I feel like with the music stuff, everyone was great and they really kind of let me dip my creative hand in that more than, I think most people usually get to. I think the one thing would be like, yeah, like if you have like ideas, don't be afraid to like, throw them out there. If you feel like you understand something and you can see it, then yeah, don't be afraid to just like, make suggestions and because everyone wants everything to be as good as it can at the end of the day. There's no selfishness in that.
Yeah, for sure. I think especially with a project like that where the fans are so passionate about it, I think they're really going to respond and have that similar type of attitude or that similar type of reaction to your character. So, have you heard from any fans of the series, and have they already reached out to you, or are you? I'm expecting you to have like a huge fan swarm once the season premieres and by the end of season two. So, what is it like being a part of a huge project such as this one with such passionate fans? Have you had like a bit of an interaction with them yet so far?
Yeah, I mean, I've had like a few people reach out, and everyone's been like super lovely and like very nice. Just like, people just like, oh, like I'm excited to like see it and stuff. And that's always a good feeling. Hopefully that will continue as people actually see it. But yeah, I think it's great. I think people see a lot of themselves in some of the characters, and I think that leads people to be very, personally invested. And that's always nice to be a part of something that people feel close to in that way.
Yeah, for sure. That's a great answer. I love that. Also, for one of the this is kind of like a fan inspired question. Um, Fans are very interested in some if I guess you would call it like mending different universes. So we were curious about if your character and Sean's character were in like a Walking Dead type of situation or a Hunger Games type of situation. Who do you think would survive the longest, and who do you think might not survive the longest?
Ooh. Oh, geez. I don't know if Milo's making it. I don't know if he's making it because I think Sean's character has a lot of grit, and I think Milo does too. But I think when it comes down to it, I think Milo's still got some stuff he's gotta figure out there. But who knows? Who knows? Maybe yeah. I don't know. I'd like to see it though. Somebody, hey, somebody get that going.
Yeah, we'd love to see it too. It's good to know that you don't count both of them out, like either one of them out really quickly. Like it would be, they would last for a while.
Yeah, I think I would hope that they would put their differences aside and work together because I think if they work together, they've got a lot of complementary traits going on. But I think if they beef too much, they might both just be done.
I like that answer. That now I'm thinking about both of them on like The Amazing Race.
Mm,
Maybe that would be a good opportunity for them where they have those traits that at first they might fight a lot, but then they have those traits that complement each other. And I feel like now I really want to see that.
maybe. I like to see them in like some kind of like Maze Runner type of thing,
That would be good.
where there's a lot of like hard decision making. I feel like Milo would be the person to get stuff done, and Sean would be making the right choices.
Interesting. It's a nice contrast. So
Mm,
I would definitely love to see that.
yeah, that is a you have a good point. Hmm.
Now, for my final question, I want to ask you. We talked a lot about what the experience is like being a part of this show and being a part of this cast and playing this character. Is there anything that you learned about yourself throughout this experience, or something about you that changed or grew just being a part of this project? Do you have a moment that sticks out to you the most throughout this process?
Oh God, there's a lot. I think I learned how to deal with pressure a little more, a little better. Not like anyone was like putting pressure on me.
Well,
Um,
it's a fast-paced project and everything. It's high, it's got a lot of name recognition. I'm sure shooting is got a very like a concrete schedule to stick to with there's a lot of different moving parts like we talked about. It's not just acting. There's music involved and
yeah,
physicality.
I definitely have gotten better at being like, all right, like just take the breath, like just like lock it in, man. Like it's not that serious. And I tend to take I tend to be a little over serious sometimes.
How would you say you compare now to who you were before the series? Do you notice any discernible difference from the you who auditioned for the show to now you who's been a part of the show?
It's going to be kind of similar, I guess, to my other answer, but I think I have a little more confidence in my ideas. I think I've always been a little timid to point stuff out and like make suggestions, but I definitely feel like I've learned a lot more like when is the time for that, and because again, everyone just wants it to be the best it can be. So yeah, I think I'm more likely to put myself out there a little more in the future.
Awesome. Cool. So, those are all the questions that I have for you. We're all really, really excited for all of these episodes to premiere. The fans have been waiting for this for a long time. And it was really great to get the chance to speak with you. And thank you so much for taking time today to answer these questions for me.
Of course, thank you for having me. I appreciate it.
Of course.
This has been Will Spencer, and you've been watching Young Entertainment Mag.